Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's Morning Brief.
Just 1 week remains in the Knesset's deadline to champion a potential prime minister. If no Knesset member can receive support from at least 61 MKs by December 11th, then third elections will be called for the first time in Israel's history. But after meeting in Tel Aviv Tuesday, it seems not much has changed between incumbent Prime Minister Netanyahu and his rival Benny Gants. In no more than 45 minutes, the Likud and the blue and white leaders left the table, and each side, of course, blames the other. Netanyahu and his Likud say they offered far-reaching concessions, but were rejected by blue and white's number 2, Yair Lapid. Blue and white, however, says Netanyahu failed to bring an offer that matched his situation, or for that matter, anything new at all. Well, in any case, Channel 13 reports that at least in essence, the parties agreed to a rotational prime ministership where Netanyahu sits first, but only for a few months before Gantz takes over and Netanyahu deals with his legal battles. Also, the Knesset would have to amend Israeli basic law on elections in the next week to ensure that Netanyahu does not get immunity and sticks to this deal. Further, Blue and White asks to effectively control the Foreign Ministry, the Defense Ministry, and the Interior Ministry. Likud then would retain the Knesset Speaker position and the Treasury, giving the party control of domestic and legislative action. Meanwhile, supposed kingmaker Avigdor Lieberman continues to push for a secular unity as well, but last week Lieberman said that he'd have been willing to join the right-wing bloc if only Netanyahu were willing to cave on issues of religion and state. And now it seems at least 2 of his party members are asking Lieberman to form a right-wing coalition regardless, as long as it avoids another vote. There's a new chief in town at the International Atomic Energy Agency. Rafael Grossi of Argentina stepped into the position Tuesday, and one of his biggest challenges, right up front, will be approaching Iran regarding its position with nuclear weapons. While Grossi says he intends to meet with top Iranian decision-makers face-to-face, calling his own approach firm but fair when it comes to inspecting Iran. But in April of 2018, Prime Minister Netanyahu pointed the IAEA to secret warehouses containing uranium in Iran, and Tehran still has yet to explain after inspectors approached the locations and found traces of uranium. Yet the new IAEA chief is now saying that there's essentially no point in taking action. So it is unclear if Iran will ever be held accountable at all. Netanyahu, however, is still focusing on getting atomic weapons out of the Ayatollah's hands, speaking with US President Trump on Sunday by phone about the threat of Iran along with other issues in the region. Netanyahu will also be meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Lisbon ahead of Pompeo's trip to Morocco. Meanwhile, in Iraq, protesters continue to rage over what they say is a corrupt government, poor social services, and abhorrent unemployment rates. 400 people have died in the demonstrations as of this report, and Iraqis have burned down the Iranian consulate in Iraq for the 3rd time since protests began October 1st. Iraqis say that they're tired of having Iran involved in internal policies, and also they believe that the building itself is used as a center for Iranian intelligence. Iran outwardly declares hatred for Israel and has publicly called for its demise. Yet another appeal has been rejected now, as Israel's Supreme Court is now ordering alleged sex offender Malka Leifer to appear before a psychiatric panel. The panel has been ordered to rule by December 10th on whether Leifer is fit to be extradited to Australia, and then after that ruling, the court will decide to either approve her extradition or not. But Leifer and her legal team have been fighting both the extradition and the panel, arguing that she's unfit for trial. And in fact, Leifer was first released as unfit back in 2016. But she was re-arrested in 2018 for allegedly faking her condition. Also, it's been alleged that Leifer received help from Haredi lawmakers and her community in those earlier psychological screenings. So now the courts are demanding another test. And following Tuesday's newest ruling, Dassi Ehrlich, one of Leifer's alleged victims, tweeted, "Time to breathe, sleep, and remember, we will get through this." Malka is the former principal of the ultra-Orthodox Adass Israel Girls' School in Melbourne, Australia, and she's alleged to have sexually abused multiple students on at least 74 different occasions. But when allegations first surfaced, she left for Israel to avoid charges, and it was only in 2014 that Israel first arrested her, following Australia's request for extradition. It seems there really is a first time for everything, as 13 countries in the United Nations General Assembly have now broken with decades of anti-Israel tradition. Meeting for an annual plenary session regarding the division for Palestinian rights, Germany, the Czech Republic, Austria, Bulgaria, Denmark, Estonia, Greece, Lithuania, Netherlands, Romania, Slovakia, Brazil, and Colombia all voted against the resolution, which is infamous for its bias against Israel. And this marks the first time that these nations ever voted in Israel's favor on this matter. Well, Israeli officials are praising the shift, with Foreign Minister Israel Katz saying that he's pleased by the clear moral stance against discrimination towards Israel at the UN. And he's also saying that he's confident other EU members will soon follow suit. Then Katz thanks the US, Canada, Australia, and multiple other countries for their continued vote of support. But while the change in vote shows a positive shift in attitudes towards the Jewish state, the resolution co-sponsored by mostly Arab Gulf states still passed with a wide majority. 87 countries voted yes, 57 voted no, and 23 abstained, including the UK, France, and Spain.
That's all for now, but for more news from Israel, remember to like ILTV on Facebook and on Instagram, and to subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.